Distinguished guests of the forum, I'm glad to see you here again. Today we will listen to two speeches by two very interesting people. The first speaker is a principal research scientist from MIT Sloan School of Management, George Westerman. Please, the floor is yours.
Slides. Can you bring? Thank you. Thank you first of all for welcoming me to Russia. I really appreciate this. It's my first time here. Thank you also for the chance to do this talk in English. It'll be much more interesting that way. I know 3 words in Russian, so it's a very boring conversation. So thank you for that. I study digital strategy. That's what I do at MIT. And so why did I give you a talk that's called You Don't Need a Digital Strategy? And the reason is because the more I study digital strategy, the more I realize that focusing on digital strategy is the wrong thing to focus on. And so I want to walk you through what I mean by that. This is over 7 years of research, more than 1,000 large companies, some things I've learned about just how to take all that and put it into 20 minutes. Okay? So listen, we know how fast digital innovation is going, and Vassar will talk about this. Do you know Moore's Law? Anybody? Do you know Moore's Law, everybody? Okay, Moore's Law is one of those things that everybody in technology talks about, but other people don't. And that is the fact that technology gets twice as good every year and a half. And it's exponential. So if it's twice as good every year and a half, that means in 5 years, it's 10 times as good. And in 10 years, it's 100 times as good. And you just have to look at your phone and the internet to see how that, because here's just 1 year of progress in AI. And Vassar's going to talk a lot about AI, so I just want to tell you how fast. Yeah, there we go. This May of 2017, an algorithm got good at summarizing text. It can read text and tell you what it's about. It turned out that soon after that, they got to the point where it could read as well as the average high school student could. Then suddenly lawyers got very nervous because a lot of what lawyers do is read things and make sense of things, and computers got better than lawyers at some basic, simple stuff. It continues. So over here, in medical, computers can read an X-ray or an MRI screen and find things in it very, very well, but you still have to have a doctor involved. Now, this is the first test I've seen where the doctor did not need to be involved. The computer can tell you whether you have a problem, and you can start to take action about it. Now, there's some bad sides of this also, though. We can now read the back of your head and tell what you are seeing. We can... I'm having trouble with the clicker. Do I point there? Ah, good. We can make you say things that you never said before, and we can now do it with video. So your video image can say things you never said before, and it might be a terrible thing, but it looks just like you did it. Even worse, if you train on the wrong data, we got a psychopath. We got a very, very bad robot, and have to shut that down. So this is the bad side. Now on the good side, though, this is all in the last year, by the way. On the good side, now if we could just make this work, we would be good, right? On the good side, I think I need a new battery. We are finding ways for technology to work with people, robots in stores that work very well. And scientists can now read, they can start to detect things you couldn't otherwise. If you ask what is technology not good at yet, one job still is pretty safe. Robots are very bad at writing poetry. So this clicker is just causing me troubles. So if you are a poet, you are safe for a little while. Vassar will fix this very soon, I'm sure. So that's just how fast things are going. Why did I say this? Not because I want to teach you about AI, but I wanted to tell you that's 1 year of progress. That's how fast things are going. So if you are in the company trying to follow the pace of technology and adopt every new technology that comes along the line, you will lose. It is just impossible to keep up with technology at this pace. And the reason for that is, I told you Moore's Law. Technology gets faster every 12. I want to tell you George's law, my law, okay? And my law is this. Technology changes quickly, but organizations change much more slowly. And so you cannot be in a business of chasing technology What you need to be in the business of is adopting technology to change the way you work. Technology never creates value in a business. Actually, let me say that differently. If you are a technology business, it can do it. For any other business, like a bank or an insurance company, technology does not create value. The value comes from changing the way you do business. Technology is a tool to do that, but if you focus on the technology, you're not going to do it right. And that's what we've learned over all these years of the digital transformation research, is that digital is not the problem. The real problem is transformation. And that means one other thing. That means if you are saying, hey, you are in charge of digital for my company, and you say just do digital, you are setting up that person to fail. Because that digital person needs to change the rest of the company. And they can't do it without you. So it's not really a technology problem, it's really a leadership problem. It's an organizational capability problem, and we forget that. So that's really what I meant about you don't need a digital strategy. You want a strategy that digital can help you do better. Okay? So we studied more than 1,000 firms now, large firms, about what they're doing with digital. And we learned over time that many companies are investing in digital. They are buying their mobile. They were buying their social media stuff. Now they're buying their AI and their blockchain things. But for all the companies that are investing, very few are doing it well. And the ones that are doing it well, we call them digital masters. And they do two things better than the rest of the world. They not only do the digital, but they do the digital differently, but they also invest in the capability to transform. So I am a business professor. I told you two things: do the digital, do the transform. Of course, I have to give you a 2x2 because that's what business professors do, right? And so that's what this is. You want to be, you want to be here. You do not want to be here. If you are here, do not tell me, right? And there's a lot of people that are here and here. These companies here, they are the banks that have adopted every technology in the world, sometimes 3 or 4 different times, but they are not connected together. They're wasting a lot of money, but they're not doing what they are. Why do we call them fashionistas? Because they look all beautiful and digital on the outside. There's just nothing going on up here. And we all know those people, right? And then the other side is the conservatives. They are being too careful. So they are the ones that say, I lost so much money in .com that I don't want to lose that money again. And I would say .com, that was 15 years ago. That's 1,000 times as far as Moore's Law. And they'd say, yeah, I don't want to make that mistake again, right? So being too careful. They don't want to invest in innovation because they might lose money. So let's talk about the digital masters. Oh, by the way, something else here too. These 2 dimensions are associated with different kinds of performance in companies. So if you look over here, we looked at publicly traded companies that are good at one or the other dimensions. One quadrant, and you compare it to other companies in your same quadrant, in your same industry, what you get? Banks against banks, insurance against insurance, retail against retail. And what was interesting here is the more digital you are, the better you drive revenue through your capacity. The more digital you are, the better you can get revenue with a unit of people or a unit of property. And that makes sense because you're digital, but it doesn't say anything about profit. The better you lead, the better you have this transformation capability, the better you are at being profitable. So of course the masters are great, 26%. So if your industry is running at a 4% margin, the masters are running at a 5%. These are billion-dollar companies, so that's a lot of money. But look at these, the fashionistas for revenue at a lower profit margin. And they don't realize it because they pay attention to this, but not that. And the conservatives, they're more profitable, they feel really good, except their lack of innovation means they are driving less revenue. So they're marketed, they're getting the right signals that make them really happy, but they're missing the signal that says they're missing something. So you got to put them together. So that's kind of the one power slide, right? That's what we learned out of our research on what it is. But now how do you make that happen? I have a book on this. I'd be happy to share the book. It's not in Russian yet, but I can give it to you in English. But let's just talk about it in terms of a set of things you can do. Oh, by the way, I forgot I had this picture in here. DBS Bank, do you know DBS Bank in Singapore? DBS Bank? it's worth paying attention to. Okay? DBS was the worst of the top 5 banks in Singapore for customer experience, the very worst. And they decided to fix that. And so first thing they said, though, is rather than saying we will get good, they said, let's make banking joyful. I don't think of banking and joyful, but that's what they did. That was their vision. And they said, what we're going to do is we're going to find everything that makes a customer wait, and we will stop that. So they put a goal to save 1 million hours of waiting time for customers over the next few years. Every time anybody in the company figured out something that made a customer wait, a reconciliation failure or not enough things open or not having the mobile working right, they fixed it. They're up to 250 million hours of wait time over 3 years. And all of those went right to the bottom line in terms of customer satisfaction and operational improvement. They are so good now, I mentioned on the panel, that DBS Bank now, by saving customer wait time, they cleaned up their processes. And then the last couple processes, they were able to put robots and digital identity in, and now they're so cheap that they can make money from you for a $10 savings account in India. So that's what I mean about this kind of thing. It wasn't a digital strategy. They called it a digital strategy, but it was really about improving their operations through all kinds of different things: robots, AI, automation, and other things. Okay? So you can do it. They did it. You can do it. Okay? All right, so let me go through the points on how do you make this work. How do you drive transformation? Number one, start with this vision. Start with a clicker that works. You build a vision. How can you be a different kind of bank? How can you be a different kind of company? Not just a little bit better, but a different kind. We will make banking joyful. All right? We see this in other places. At Nike, the shoe company, they don't want to sell you shoes. They want to be part of your life. And so they invest as much in having conversations with you about sports as they do in selling you shoes. Because the more conversations, the better they are at selling you shoes, because they know you better. Right? So have a very compelling vision, something that everybody believes in on why we will get better. And then next, make it big. So you want to turn from a caterpillar into a butterfly. In too many companies I talk to, their vision is not butterflies. Their vision is being a fast caterpillar. Okay? If all you can do is crawl and your competitor can fly, you will never get there. Right? So this vision has to be something big. If you don't do it big, nobody's going to change anything. And if you do it big, even if you get partway there, that's much better than before. So number one is the vision. Help people understand that you are going to do business differently, and there's a good reason you are doing business differently. Then go on, next thing, how do you think about that vision? Well, one of the things to do is most of us that have as much gray hair as me, or maybe who are hiding their gray hair with a little bit of color, they have some assumptions about how computers work and what's possible in companies, and it's just different now. Computers are just much more capable than they were before. So if we grew up with some assumptions that we need to rethink, do our customers really value the human touch? No, they want personal service, but they don't need it from a person. Working as an integrated company will slow us down and make us less innovative. Absolutely not. The best companies out there, the fintechs, the great fintechs, the great Amazons of the world, these kinds of things actually have a very strong standard infrastructure, very well-defined platform that they innovate on top of. Or when they innovate, they bring it in. So by working integrated, I don't mean that everybody does everything the same way, but if you're doing the same thing, do it the same way. Why do you have 20 copies of the same customer in your database? Why don't you just have one view of that person? Okay? So you can integrate and actually get more innovative because the information is available. We've reached the limit how far we can automate. I think Vassar will help you fix that one, right? When your cars drive themselves, when your computers can understand, translate, and write text, we are in a different world from what I grew up in. And this one here, strategic assets that brought us success will still be valuable. If I have 20,000 bank branches, is that good or is that bad? In an era of mobile, I think we need to think about that. And most banks I know are cutting back on their branches, and those branches will do a different kind of service. So one is a new vision. Number two, when you're building the vision, rethink what's possible now versus what you think is possible from the way you grew up. Number three, focus on leadership capabilities, not just the technical ones. And what do I mean by that? Well, I talked about vision. But you also want to engage your people in that vision. Because if they don't believe the vision, it's just a piece of paper. And I know whenever my bosses used to come out, and even now when the president of the university comes out with a new vision, they say, hey, here's our new vision. My first response is, if I put my head down, maybe that vision will go away, right? You don't do that, do you? So you got to engage people. So every bank I know is trying to cut 30% out of their operational costs right now. I've seen three kinds of visions for that. Number one is we will be 30% cheaper. Number two is we will be lean and agile and straight through. Number three is we will make banking joyful. Okay? Which vision do you want to be part of? If I create a vision that says we're going to be 30% cheaper, saying out of three of you, I'm going to fire one of you next year, right? Lean and straight through and agile, that kind of makes sense, right? I can buy into that. That's a vision I can get behind, right? And I understand what that means for me. Making banking joyful, I understand. You see, the vision matters, right? Help people understand why that's good for them, not just for the company. And in governance, you need to steer. And the problem, we have the governance body here for banking. What I mean by governance is not all the rules and all the bureaucracy. What I mean is, let's put the standards in place so people can build on them. Let's make sure the sharing happens the way the sharing should happen. But let's not stand in the way of innovation. And that's what governance is about in companies. So if you can do the vision, engagement, and governance, the next step is to keep pushing it forward. DBS Bank did not get where it went all in one step. It did a year or two, and another year or two, another year or two. My favorite company right now, Asian Paints in India, went from making paint in 13 regions to making painting services, and renovation services for houses in 17 countries. They did that over 10 years, but they did it with four major waves of innovation. And by the way, I'll come back to the technology leadership. Okay? So this is just as important. It's actually more important than your digital, because you don't have a mobile strategy. You got a personal banking strategy. They are very different. One can be led by your technology people. The other has to be led by the business. Okay? Next up, don't push the envelope too far too fast. That's an English word. Do you get what I mean? Just because blockchain is the coolest thing ever doesn't mean you have to do blockchain. Just because AI is really amazing doesn't mean you need to do AI everywhere. You do it where it makes sense to do it. And we have this thing in the US, this company Gartner, they actually put together what a lot of us people know about this, but I love the words that they use. Innovation gets triggered, the media gets very excited about it, and you get the peak of inflated expectations. That sounds like blockchain, doesn't it? And then you find out there's only the same story that we keep hearing over and over again. You fall down to the trough of disillusionment. And everybody says, oh, it's a bad idea, it will never work. And then suddenly over time, you notice that everybody's doing it. They just aren't doing it quite the way you thought. E-commerce, boom. We're going to raise the stock prices huge. The stock prices are going to fall, and now every company we know is actually doing really good e-commerce. Okay? So you don't want to do too much here. You don't want to get too scared there. You want to be all the way through being smart about how you use these things. Don't just jump on the technology because it's cool technology. Okay? Let the startups do that. Let the venture capitalists do that. And when you find out who wins, then you start to work. That leads to this one. Everybody is worried about fintech startups. I get it. I totally get it. Every fintech startup I talk to says, I love that, but boy, I would love to have the number of branches that Sberbank have. I would love to have the number of customers that Roscom, these kinds of things, right? I would love to have the capital that these banks have. But you don't know how to use it. You don't know how to use that power. And using that power is really important. So what do I see? I see really an opportunity here to learn from the startups, maybe even partner with the startups, and then to beat them on your playing field. You don't want to play them in the startup world because you can't be fast enough. But on the other hand, you can take their ideas and apply it to your scale, and you can do amazing things. So for example, just some ideas. Oh, man. Hello? Hi, can you move my slides back? Oh, I think they're telling me I have to stop. Come back here. Wait, 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 wait. Now we need to robotize this, right? Progressive insurance for years in the US has been insuring high-risk people. But they were smart enough to figure out, are you really high risk or were you just unlucky? And they ensure that they pay people that they should charge here, the market is charging here, and they charge them there. Okay? But then what about other things here? Lemonade, renter's insurance, hard to rate, pretty high margin business. It's risky, but because of the margins, you're okay. Lemonade will insure you in 90 seconds without a person in there. They will pay you in 3 minutes from the time your claim happens. And you think, wow, what a stupid business, except that it's growing like gangbusters, and it's signed up with Lloyd's and Munich Re and a bunch of others to be the reinsurance side of this thing. Why can't you do that as an insurance company? Why do you need to have a startup do that? Right? It's just a matter of risk pooling and making the simple, so you buy it or you do it. These people here, Slice, they are offering insurance for the people that lend out their homes through Airbnb and stuff like that. So I only want to insure my house for the visitors for 3 days while I am renting it out. And then I don't want insurance for the rest of the year. Slice can do it because they know the timing, they know other things, and plus also they're playing that same game that this is a really hard market to run, so they'll do it as well as anybody else. It's a bad business, but if you wanted to be in that, you could do it, right? Some of the other ones, rethinking payments, right? M-Pesa, PayPal, Alipay, you know about those. Venmo took off a few years ago in the US. My children do this to trade money when they're in high school or whatever. Now we have this thing called Zelle. And Zelle is the big banks doing what Venmo, right? They are making the payments happen. But they said, why should Venmo get all the action? We will do it with Zelle instead. Okay? You're talking about that here. And then another one here is, do you know Cabbage? Okay, Cabbage is small business working capital loans. Really hard business to write and to underwrite. It takes months of time and dozens of forms to do this. Cabbage will do it in how to 6 minutes? Give me your bank password, give me your QuickBooks password, your accounting password, and give me your PayPal password, how you transfer money back. We load all the data in, and we know more about your company than you do. Okay? And by the way, we will charge you a horribly high interest rate because we can do a loan that nobody else will give you, right? Why can't you do this? I tried to get a renewal of my home equity loan from my bank, and they made me fill out a bunch of forms. I said, why can't I just push a button? And they said, oh, that's too hard. So now I have a home equity loan from a different bank. Okay? So these are things you can do. You just have to do them, or else buy them, either way. Okay? You don't have to get beaten by these people. All right. Oh, man. Okay, we're almost done. Hello? Hi, can you? Hi, can you fix up my slides for me? Hello? You've seen these slides a lot now. What's that? Oh, I pushed the wrong button. I'm blaming them, but it's me. Okay, you need a robot to give the talk. Don't let your truck drivers drive this alone. Nearly every company I talked to said, digital is fast, but our IT department, they are slow. And as a result, we're going to do digital without our IT people. And every digital master found a way for IT and digital and business to work closely together. You have to find a way to do that because so much is buried in your systems. So much intelligence about your processes is in your IT people. Doing it separately is separating you from your scale. And in many ways will slow you down. That means sometimes you get a new technology leader, but often it's about technology learning how to be faster. Technology learning more about your business. Okay? And here's the problem that you can't do without your technology people involved. My best picture I could find of the IT and process platforms at companies, the best picture I could find was this. Does that look like your systems in your company? If you're in this mess, it's really hard to do it unless you know the people who know the mess, right? Now, of course, you want to change it. You want to go from spaghetti to lasagna, nice layers of things. You want to go to ravioli, nice little pieces of things you can move around. But that takes time. So you do it with your technology people. Okay? And then last is culture. As a leader in your company, you need to get your company to think differently. Because your people in your company may be used to a slow way of doing things. They may be used to a not so customer focused way of doing things. Every company we studied that got good at this, they got good at saying, yeah, that was really good, now do better. What can we do next? Faster, more innovative, take that next step. And that's where the thing comes. You don't jump from here to here. You jump to here and then you push that next one and that next one. So constantly be asking from the top and constantly training your people to be dissatisfied. You want satisfied employees, but you want them constantly questioning, why do you do business this way? Why can't it be better? And we'll go from there, okay? So that was quick. That was the wrap up, to put it all 7 points on one page. This is 7 years of research in 25 minutes. I'll be happy to take a question or two or talk to you outside. Thank you.
Thank you, George. У нас есть время.
We have a couple of minutes for a couple of questions. So,
Okay, I'll turn the stage over then.
На сцену приглашается.
Sure.
and I would like to, yeah.
Sorry? Oh, okay. When the questions come, you do.
На сцену приглашается.